All right, so for the matching equations of real world situations, all right, you're going to be doing this at a station. If you didn't get the paper yet, go grab the paper because we're going to do the first one together here with this video, and then you're going to go to the station and do the rest. So when you get to the station, so pause it if you need to go to the paper. When you get to the station, you're going to be given a card that has the situation on it that will match exactly what you see here. Then you're going to get cards that have graphs on them, and then cards that have equations, and then you're going to have to actually answer the question once you find the other things that correlate. So I'm actually going to do the first one for you. So I'm going to just show you what the answer would be, and we're going to talk about why. All right, this is definitely something that you're going to have to just turn your thinking cap on for and really try to process through why some of these things would go together. All right, so here we're talking about an Amtrak train. An Amtrak train leaves Washington and travels directly from Washington to Atlanta. All right, so we're told the X value is the distance in miles on the route the Amtrak is from Washington. All right, so that would be from Washington. All right, and then our Y is the distance from Atlanta. So the graph that's going to match this, I'm going to go ahead and just do it for you. It's going to look like this. All right, and what's a solid line here because we're talking about something traveling, so there's no gaps in it. All right, it's just a straight continuous motion. Also, because they're saying that the train is going directly, we also have a constant rate of change. All right, the train is going to hit its speed and it's going to continue moving at that speed. All right, so now let's label our axis though, so we know exactly what we're working with. All right, our x-axis is they're saying is the distance from Washington. All right, so what that means when we look like right here, if our x is the distance from Washington, this x value here is going to be some number, but the y value here is going to be 0. Our y would be, whoop, I did that backwards. I'm going to put the 0 here. Our y would be 0. All right, so the distance from Washington would be a high number. All right, and then our our y value would then be the distance from Atlanta. All right, so that means since the y would be 0 here, this is actually when we are in Atlanta. All right, because then we're several miles from Washington. And now if we come up here to our y-intercept, what we're talking about for y is the distance from Atlanta. So here, for this point, we know all x values. All right, so for any point on the y-axis, our x would be 0. All right, so our x would be 0. And then our y is going to be some number. All right, so that means right here, this is when we are in Washington, because if our x is 0, we have no miles from Washington. This means that we are in Washington at this point. All right, our final question is how far apart are Washington and Atlanta? Well, we know it's the distance of that line, all right, but we got to figure out the equation to know that. So if we look at all of the equations that we would have given, one, you would know it would be a constant rate of change, all right, and it's not changing, it's straight through, all right, and I'm going to show you the equation that it would be y equals 638 minus x. All right, and it's kind of like a process of elimination. You're going to just have to think about some different things, all right, and maybe if you want to think about, well, what can I plug in to try to make sense of it? So let's just say if I want to estimate that I think they are 300 miles apart. All right, so I can do an input for x, and I can say, well, I think the distance in miles from Washington is 300. Well, if I do that, all right, and plug that in, what that would tell me is that I still have 338 miles from Atlanta. All right, so it does sound like this one could work as far as the reasoning of it. All right, and now if we go over here, I didn't mean to erase all that. Now if we go over here to our actual question, they're asking, well, how far apart are Washington and Atlanta? All right, well, we know we got to make it equal 0 to be there, to get to the destination. So that means to make this equal to 0, that means the x would have to be 638. All right, so they're actually 638 miles apart. That's what that tells us, the distance from one place to the next. All right, so this is not going to be like all the other problems. All right, every problem is going to be a little bit different. I would just do process elimination, whatever you think is easier for you, to whether look at the equations or the graphs, match them, and then you'll call one of us over to check your work and sign your learning plan. You will also need to fill in this paper, and you will turn this paper in as well.